He's sitting on 7-14. Here's the pitch by Downing. Swinging. There's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7-15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron.
More Than Brave means a chance for the History Center to do something that all of Atlanta could get excited about.
The exhibition More Than Brave means quite a bit to me. The opportunity to develop an exhibition on the life of Henry Aaron, someone who belongs on the Mount Rushmore of professional baseball, was very exciting to do.
Mobile was one of the few places in the Deep South, maybe the only place, where baseball wasn't completely overshadowed by football.
This exhibit starts Henry Aaron's story in Mobile, where he was born in 1934. It was a segregated city, but it was also a baseball-loving city. He actually was born in an area of Mobile called Down the Bay. It was where Satchel Paige was born, one of the most outstanding players in the Negro leagues. And then Willie McCovey was actually born as well, another standout major league player. So it was an environment full of baseball. He loved baseball. Hank Aaron loved baseball. But you know, other than playing in the Negro leagues, he couldn't have seen an ability to play in the major leagues.
There's no telling how many major leaguers Mobile might have produced if blacks hadn't been kept out of baseball.
There is quite a bit to say about the Negro Leagues in general and how central they were to black life in America. It had always been evident that black talent in baseball was equal to and on par with those of white players. It's just that those players of that time never really got the chance to prove it. This was a photograph of the first Negro League All-Star game. It meant a lot to Henry and a lot to Mrs. Aaron. And so we're very excited that she allowed us to borrow it for this exhibition.
Black people had been crying out for opportunity in this country for 2 centuries, and we finally had it.
Hank Aaron was influenced by Jackie Robinson from the time that he was a little boy. Then he turns 13, and it's at that age that Jackie Robinson starts playing for the Brooklyn Dodgers, right? The first black player to play in the major leagues. All of a sudden, Hank Aaron can now, all those people that are telling him, well, you can't do that, you can't do that, now he can point and say, hey, Jackie Robinson's doing it, why can't I?
Our mission, that's the only thing to call it, was to do something with the chance we had.
Henry Aaron spent about 2 weeks in the Negro Leagues with the Indianapolis Clowns. I read the scouting reports, and it illustrates what an inexact science that scouting is, because throughout those reports were grades that the scouts gave Henry Aaron, and one of them was on his power, and he was listed as a fair power hitter. He was a very small young man back then, and so it would be impossible to understand or to realize that he would become the all-time home run leader in Major League Baseball history.
Milwaukee was perfect for me. Baseball has never seen fans like Milwaukee's in the 1950s and never will again.
We wanted to illustrate his life and his times through as many artifacts as we could. They help tell the story of the game and the people who played them. They're visually appealing, and they often include seminal moments of the game, especially for Hall of Fame players like Henry Aaron.
I was the first black player, the first player, period, to have my own night in Atlanta Stadium after my 500th home run.
We set about trying to find collectors, and we found a collector online who had a collection of Hank Aaron's cards, a full collection from 1954 to 1976. Baseball cards are really relatable items. If you're not a baseball fan, you can still relate to baseball cards because they're so ubiquitous in the culture.
I suppose that first year or two in Atlanta was when I made up my mind that if I ever got close to Babe Ruth's record for home runs, it would be mine.
Early on in January of 2024, we went to Mrs. Aaron's home. We spoke to her about our aims for the exhibition. She said that whatever you see here, feel free to use for the story that you're telling. One of them was a Peanuts comic strip that we've displayed here that tells the story in a really effective way about the pressure that Henry Aaron was under during his home run chase. It wasn't revealed until late 1973 that Henry Aaron was receiving thousands of letters every day, many of which were laced with death threats and vile racist sentiments, because you had a black man chasing the record that seemed transcendent, that seemed like nobody was meant to break. And that generated a lot of negative response from white racists throughout the country. The creator of the Peanuts comic strip, Charles Schulz, tried to illustrate the absurdity of all this by kind of making Charlie Brown a stand-in, or Snoopy a stand-in for the home run chase.
Darrell Evans, second base, nobody out. High towering drive, this may be it. There it goes. Home run, number 700 for Henry Aaron.
Keep swinging at them. It's the only way I've ever had of dealing with things like fastballs and bigotry.
I think that's what Hank Aaron's story is. Every step of the way, he found it within himself to take those opportunities. Even if maybe if you would have sat him down, he would have said, I'm not really ready. I don't know if I'm ready to go. He had to be brave enough to take the next step at each place. And in many cases, he was the first black person in a league or on a team to take those steps.
Henry Aaron's jersey that he wore during 1974 season, the year he broke the record, is the most exciting object that we have in this collection. And it is just such a tangible connection to the man and to his story.
Probably he'll go to right center field with that ball.
Aaron in his earlier days used to hit more to right and right center than the left. There's a long drive. Ball's hit deep, deep. It is gone. He did it. He did it. Henry Aaron is the all-time home run leader now. Listen to this. He did it.
A billboard illustrating Hank Aaron's home run chase of Babe Ruth had been in the possession of someone who, as a young man, worked for the College Park athletics facilities. He's kept it in pristine condition throughout all these decades, close to 50 years, until 2023, when he reached out to the Braves asking the organization if they wanted this piece. So the Braves reached out to us, and we said, of course, we would like this item for the exhibition. And so it makes a really great centerpiece. We were very fortunate to have that item donated, not only for this exhibition, but as part of our permanent collection.
Once the record was mine, I had to use it like a Louisville slugger. I believed, and still do, that there was a reason why I was chosen to break the record.
We reached out to the Mobile Museum of History, and as it turns out, the curator did mention this ball that they have, and it was the last walk-off home run that Henry Aaron hit in his career. That was home run number 754. He hit 755 home runs, so it was second to the last home run he hit. One of our curators, Tim Ferlingos, found an audio recording of Bob Uecker building up to the hit, building up to the home run, and then the moment after the home run.
Here's the 1-2 to Henry. Here's a drive, left field deep. Hey, get out of here for Henry. It is gone. Home run.
Hank Aaron retires from the Brewers and gets hired by the Braves for player development. He sees that baseball is becoming a sport that only the elite, only those who are well off can get into. And so he's starting to really think about how do we get players like he was, very, very poor in Mobile, Alabama. How does he get those kind of players involved in the game?
I feel it's my task to carry on where Jackie Robinson left off, and I only know of one way to go about it.
This is a portrait of Henry Aaron later in his life with figures of the civil rights movement, the most prominent names you could imagine. Andrew Young, John Lewis, Joseph Lowry, C.T. Vivian. These were the giants of the movement, and to have Henry Aaron in that same category speaks volumes about what he meant to the movement. Andy Young told him that keep doing what you're doing. As long as you're swinging the bat and having the success on the field that you're having, you're doing as much for the movement as we are. Illustrating excellence and showing that if you give African Americans an equal opportunity at achieving greatness, then they can achieve that.
Failure is a part of success. There is no such thing as a bed of roses all your life. But failure will never stand in the way of success if you learn from it.
These artifacts tell stories, and these stories tell a great number of stories about Henry Aaron. Not just about his life growing up in Mobile and learning to play the game, not just as one of the best baseball players to ever live, but his legacy outside of the game too.
When people leave this exhibition, I hope not only have they learned the personal story of Hank Aaron, hopefully they've learned a little bit about the 20th century and how sports influenced the 20th century and some of the biggest movements of the 20th century, and that connection to Atlanta. But most of all, I hope that when people leave this exhibit, I hope it's multi-generational, and I hope that grandfathers or grandmothers are telling their grandkids about how they were there, how they were at the games. Maybe they weren't at the 7:15 game, but they were at one of those games, and how the feeling in Atlanta was really changing, that everyone was getting behind this exciting baseball player. Hopefully that's what starts, is this dialogue between generations and a connection. That's what I would love, because that's what baseball is, and I think that's what Hank Aaron would want as well.